Hello, beautiful friends. I want to share with you my story of how I followed a spiritual teacher and found myself in a space where I had to acknowledge that I was following somebody who was false light. Now, I want to share this story in the hopes that all of you can feel a little inspired to have your discernment high at a time when we are in a spiritual war. So, first, I will share that I had been following this particular man for years on YouTube. I was watching his free meditations and listening to his message and his story, which I really resonated with. I thought it was a really interesting story of a place where he came from and what he learned along the way. And during this time, we were in lockdown in Canada where I live. And so I was looking for people who kind of were helping us understand what was going on energetically on the planet at a time when things really felt unbalanced and imbalanced. And so, it had been years, and then I finally saw that he was coming to Canada and he was actually coming to my province where I live. And so I thought, well, how timely is this? Like 3 years later, I can actually meet this man, find out what he's all about, feel his energy, learn maybe some of his healing modality, because he had a very powerful healing modality, which I had learned from others who had taken his training was quite powerful for them too, as a tool to help others heal. And this is something that I really, really wanted. So I found myself going to this group healing event in my city, and we were staying in a hotel, and I had some friends to hang out with, and we all sat in this big circle in this big banquet room, and everybody's chairs were in a circle, and there were two pillars in the middle of the room. And so this man walked into the middle of the room to begin his healing weekend with us, to start explaining what we're going to expect and what we're going to experience. And there were some women over to the side that were moving their chairs because somebody couldn't see him because they were sitting right behind this pillar and he was standing in the middle, so they couldn't see him. So everybody was just trying to shuffle over. And he pauses speaking. So he turns to them and starts yelling at them, saying, "What are you doing? Get out of your head, get in your heart, never mind what they are doing." And he was just really, it seemed to me a little over the top and aggressive for somebody just like trying to make a point. And so it really put me in a state of alarm and confusion. I was trying to understand, I was trying to read the room. Does he do this to people sometimes? Does he know this woman that he's yelling at? Is this like an inside joke? Like, what is happening? Because that really freaked me out. It put me in a state of alarm where I was frozen. I didn't know what to do. So then he finished yelling at them and finished it off by saying, "I love you." And so here I am thinking, like, maybe this is like a method of like helping people heal. I don't quite know. I didn't quite understand. And then he continued on talking. And I was sitting next to a woman who I was sharing a room with as well, who I just met. And she was so excited to finally meet him. She had taken his online training. She was meeting him in person for the first time. And she was just jumping in her seat and wiggling around. And as he was talking, she was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And she was just muttering to herself in her excitement. And he turned on us. And he didn't know who was talking. So he was like, "Who said that?" And he looked at me, and I was like, "No, she." And so he looked at her, and the look in his eyes was just something fierce. It was so scary. And then I immediately felt horrible that I actually like pointed at the person beside me because she was the one who was talking. And he met her before. So maybe there would be some relationship experience there, or maybe they would understand each other on some level because they met each other before. And then he went and laid into her. And he basically said, "You did this before. You talk, talk, talk. You don't shut your mouth. You're not in your heart. Get in your heart. I love you." And it was just like the weirdest thing. And the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to like find my bag. Where's my bag? I got to get out of here. I need to move out of this space. Like, I need to go out in the hallway and find my hotel room and breathe through this and then figure out what I'm going to do next. I needed to like get out. But I was actually sitting there afraid to move because I didn't want his eyes on me and I didn't want to be abused in the same way. And I was also alarmed and upset with my friend, and I felt like I had to stay with her because I could feel that she was extremely dejected. She just sunk in her chair. She leaned over and she froze. So she was completely upset, and I needed space to give her a hug or talk to her as well. So we continued this healing session, and I knew I just need to wait it out a little bit and then find out what to do next. Maybe I could talk to somebody and get clarity on what's going on here. So we did this breath work, and then there was this instance where they do the God's mouth, they call it, and they put a hand on your third eye and a hand behind the back of your head, and they stream code through you so that you're receiving the codes of healing. So this is all completely new to me, and so I was willing to let it get weird, and let's try it out then. And everyone else is doing this, and this is what he does, and so let's just do this. And then I'm going to have a serious talk with some of these new friends that I've made, and discuss what happened. Right? Like, let's just get through this piece, because I feel like I can't leave either. So we did the healing session. It was like a 6-hour day, very exhausting. We went out and we had dinner, and I pulled a bunch of people in with me. I'm like, you came alone, so come with us. We're all going to go out and have dinner. So a group of us went to have dinner out in the city. We went to a restaurant. We all sat down with food, and then I opened the conversation up. What was that? Have you ever seen him behave that way? Is this something that he does? Is there something that I need to know about this behavior? Because for me, a spiritual teacher should never upset somebody in a sacred healing container. They should never make somebody feel afraid or surprised or embarrassed or shamed. He was angry, correct? Like, I just needed people to, like, converse with me to piece together what was going on. So we decided that perhaps it was, something that he does, and we don't approve of the way that it was delivered, the message, but that perhaps it was necessary for people to hear that it was time to drop into your heart and be focused in when you're in the healing space. But none of us really wanted to admit that, perhaps this was something that he should not have done. There was a resistance to wanting to share that perhaps he was in the wrong. But we did agree that it was delivered in a way that we wouldn't stand behind. So that evening in the hotel room, I could not sleep. I was up until probably 3 a.m. My mind was just blasting through the events. I was trying to get clarity on what to feel, what to do. Should I go to day 2? And I had a voice in my head that was extraordinarily loud, and it was saying, Niki, get out of there. He is a cult leader. This is a cult. These people that love him are not followers, they are worshipers. The man admitted that he drinks his girlfriend's menstrual fluid. That is a sign and an indication for you that he is not somebody that you want to learn from, because that is cult behavior. That's like demonic stuff. And you need to get out of here, Niki. And this voice wouldn't leave me alone. It was so loud that I was like, okay, I just need to go to sleep so I can clear my head and decide in the morning. So I finally fell asleep. I woke up and I thought, you know what? I'm here to do this whole thing. And I'm actually going to show up on day 2, and I'm going to find space to talk to this man and tell him how inappropriate his behavior was and how unacceptable that is, and how I'm not going to let that crap get in the way of my healing that I want to do. I showed up day 2 with the plan that I was going to do my thing and ignore his stuff and then tell him exactly what I thought. And that's what I did. So whenever I did the breath work, I put all my effort into it. And then they did the coding God's mouth and laid us all down. And when I hit the floor, I had a visual journey where I went through a vortex, and I met some star people, and I saw their faces, and I felt extraordinary love and to be witnessed and seen and held by my star family. I met them, I felt them, and I knew and I realized who I was. And I felt that I had awakened something within me. I kind of got the visual that some of my DNA had been lit up, and I was coming to remembering who I truly am. And it was quite profound. This was like 40 minutes of me journeying and sobbing on the floor. After that, the rest of the day went by as normally, lots more of breath work, lots more laying down, but nothing as intense as that particular moment. So for me, looking back, I can't say that it had anything to do with the particular codes that we were given, but I do know that it had a lot to do with the breath work and the intention in this space. So at the end of the evening, this particular teacher would open up circle for questions or comments. And so I grabbed the microphone and I laid into him and I told him exactly what I needed to say. That behavior was not okay. You are totally messed up. There's something wrong with you for coming here thinking that you can get away with treating people the way you did. It is not acceptable behavior. But I decided to come in here and do my healing work and ignore your BS, your crap, and do what I needed to do. And so I passed the mic on and everybody applauded because they enjoyed it. I guess because I felt like my confession of what I was thinking and feeling and experiencing would help somebody else that was there who was perhaps taken aback by that behavior as well, because it's not okay and it needs to be said. And also in defense for my friend who was yelled at, who I just met, who had been sitting beside me. And she was still really upset by that experience and still wasn't fully capable of being in that space and enjoying herself like she should have. So I wanted him to know this information, and he sat there smiling from across the room. And I'm thinking, like, why is he smiling? Like, I just totally insulted him. Like, I was using swear words when I was explaining myself, right? Anyways, he smiles and says, "Thank you, sister, for that powerful, honest share. You should thank people who trigger you. And I'm glad that you came and you got over your trigger of fear that happened, and overcame that to come and do your healing work. Congratulations." He didn't speak about his behavior or apologize or explain it. And so I left that healing event thinking, I've got to get behind understanding this a bit more. There's something more here. He didn't answer me. He didn't conclude that experience I had by explaining what his behavior was all about. And so I drove home that evening thinking it through, and I decided to do some digging. I decided to do some more investigation because part of me still wanted to like go to his training, to take his, take his workshops and follow his events. I had this desire to do that, even though a part of me was like, I had some alarm bells still. I still had some knowingness in me that something was weird and wrong here. It was bizarre how I still had this desire to be in his spaces, but also didn't want to. It was quite interesting. So here I am, feeling a little not myself and a little confused, yet I have this goal to be in his training upcoming. So I reach out to some friends who know some friends just to start asking some questions, drop some feelers. And some of the responses I was getting back were causing some alarm for me. Some of the messages were cryptic. They were vague. They were, I won't say much more, but pay attention to where you are feeling doubt. That's all I will say. And that's like a message I got from a woman who had her facilitator training and also had left the organization or the business, removed herself from being associated after achieving 3 levels of healing modality with this particular teacher. So that's quite alarming. So something was going on that I was unable to see. I had a beautiful weekend with some friends who were very powerful spiritual people. One of them is Patricia Mona. She's also on YouTube. She's extraordinarily accurate psychic remote viewer medium. And I had the wonderful ability to be in her space. And so I simply asked her as a friend, what do you think of this guy? And she immediately didn't need to know very much information, heard a bit of my story, and immediately said, I'll tell you exactly what's going on. And she said, that man has a demon in him. Complete dark energy. Absolutely not okay. What he did also was unacceptable and definitely a sign. And no, stay away. Stay away from him. And the code that he put in you, please let's find out what that is, because I don't think it's any good for you. And so I left that weekend having had a big conversation all about this, which was hitting me like a ton of bricks. It was really hard to absorb this information and accept it. Somehow, I still wanted to not accept it. I still loved this teacher and wanted to be in his space. Again, weird. I decided to go home and the first thing in the morning the next day, call a friend who I'm going to have on this channel and interview her about this experience. Emergency spiritual healing, please. Use your pendulum, please, to find out the consciousness scale of this code I received, the healing event I was at, the man himself, etc., etc. Can you just help me get clarity? Because I don't trust myself. I'm wanting to do something that I also don't want to do. It's weird. So this friend of mine used her pendulum to come to the conclusion that the code that was put in me impacted my third eye, blocked my clarity, impacted my heart-centered discernment, put a contract in my heart, some kind of contract. I don't know what details of contract. Also, the code made me desire more training, made me desire to follow and worship this particular teacher. That's why I had this drive to want to go, even though all parts of me didn't want to. And I had this inner battle going on. And it also interrupted my soul path. Now, when my friend used her pendulum to find out the details of the code and the details of the learning relationship, the energetic contract here going on, the theme behind it, the event itself, what that was all about, I got a lot of clarity. And I realized that basically my spiritual friends were absolutely correct, that this was more than just some dark energy. So with the code removed, I had my clarity back. I felt like myself and I could see exactly what was going on now without any doubt. I had my discernment back. So this man, to me, is dangerous because he draws light workers in under the guise of light and love. And then when you're in his space, he gives you a powerful code that is subtle so that you don't even notice it's there. But it's powerful in that it overrides your clarity and your discernment, disrupts your soul path, and makes you a devout follower of him. And that is why I'm here speaking about this publicly, because I want everyone to know how risky it is to use your free will to enter into these spaces, believing these teachers to be people who can give you something that you don't have, which is a lie. It's a lie. So this was a powerful spiritual learning moment for me because I realized that this can happen to any light worker that has the passion to want to help others, that wants to have a powerful modality, a gift that you can then use to assist humanity during this time of ascension. And this New Age spiritual community is full of these people, these beings who are low frequency consciousness, who are false light, who are dark entities under the guise of being love and light, will draw you in because of your desire, make you believe that they have the answer, the key, the mystery that can unlock your potential. And then they manipulate you energetically in ways that you probably would not even anticipate or expect. It is such an important time now to have the most strongest discernment we can. And that's why these videos I'm going to create are going to help us understand how we can see the signs, how we can have discernment, and what we need to know moving forward, because the dark and the light battle is very real. And I just experienced a big piece of this. And what that tells me is that we have to identify it, have knowledge and awareness, not to be afraid, never, because we're so powerful. We don't even need to be worried about this, but we do need to identify it so that we can avoid it and also assist our friends in avoiding that as well. Because once we see it for what it is, we could never unsee it. And it's important to name it. So now I will name this a spiritual teacher and his business, Jerry Sargent with Star Magic Healing. Now he has quite a big following on Instagram and YouTube, and he is campaigning really hard right now to get as many light workers to come see him as possible for a reason. I really do believe that the darkness has lost its battle with the light, and that they have lost and they no longer have any power. And so there is a desperate grasp for whatever they can get before their mask is taken off and they're seen for what they are. Please reach out to me if you have a particular story that is similar to this, or if you want to share a similar experience with the same teacher. Let's voice these experiences. Let's name them. Let's share in the community how to have discernment and how our experiences are helping us learn how to do that as a collective. It is time that we get together and we say it how it is. Share the facts. No more hiding. No more worried about, saying their name and being a bad person for naming it. Let's name it. Let's own this story as part of our learning experience. There is no shame with it. It is very much empowering to stand in your truth, to speak your truth. You are so protected and guided when you do this, and you are earning your wings. Let me tell you, you're earning your right to be a light worker when you support others by speaking your truth. So this is what I'm doing here on my channel right now. I'm going to do this until I feel like I've shared enough. I feel like I've sent my message out there of empowerment, of sovereignty, of holding your light, and knowing that you're more powerful than all of this out there that makes you feel like you need it. You don't. So I'm going to be making more videos about how to have discernment, things to watch out for when looking for a spiritual healer or teacher or a modality, because we're always doing this, and also how to support each other along this journey by sharing our experiences. So please stay in touch, like and subscribe, follow for more. More is going to be uncovered in this series that I call Blowing the Whistle on False Light Teachers.